Now, an opening prayer by Councilman Williams. Please stand.
Okay, please join me. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our Heavenly Father, we come to you this beautiful summer evening to ask a blessing on this assembled group of people, citizens, friends. We ask that you would watch over us, and we thank you for the many blessings that thou hast given us, especially this great country. Please help us to do what is right. And I say this in the name of thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Gary and Chuck. We're going to move on to approval of the agenda. Everybody like the order? We've got it written up to this evening.
Mayor, I'd make a motion to approve the order of the agenda as is.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Approval of the disclosure of declaration of conflicts. Anybody have any this evening?
I have none.
Perfect. We're going to move on to the consent agenda. Everybody looked at the minutes from July 3rd, city council meeting? And we can do this as the same thing as city expenditures. You looked at them over from June.
What do you want to do? I think
You can actually, technically, we can do them both at once as a consent agenda, or we can split them up, however you guys want to do it.
Split them up because I weren't here for June 3rd.
Have you,
Meeting minutes.
but did you look at them and they look good? I mean, if they look good, you don't have to.
well, Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the July 3rd city council meeting minutes.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, how about possible approval of city expenditures? City expenditures from June 24th, 2024.
Mayor, I've got a question. I
Yep.
thought that we were splitting the Troy Creek expense. I saw the full amount. Are we getting reimbursed or have we already been reimbursed?
That's something we'll have to ask Ruth. I know we were getting, half of that was supposed to come from the state.
Right,
140, do you know what that is, Darren?
I don't know the exact amounts, but
Right.
Ruth will know those. But you are correct, it is half and half.
right.
So
So,
the expenditures is quite amount over what city
well, it
council
was the full
approved.
amount. So-
Yeah, we've probably got the full amount on there and the state's going to cut us a check for half.
Yes.
Yeah. So if that's what's happened, we'll look for that to come in.
We pay first and then it comes back. They pay us.
Okay, so really it hits us on this fiscal year and then the reimbursement hits on next fiscal. Okay, gotcha.
That's just
Okay.
the way the months turned out, but yeah.
Mayor, I go ahead and move that we go ahead and approve the city expenditures from June 2024.
Second. A motion and a second. Any further discussion on this item? We'll do a roll call vote just because it's money. Check on your end.
Yes.
Aye.
Yes.
All right, motion carries. All right, we are now to our public forum part of the meeting. If anyone wants to come up and speak publicly for 3 minutes, state your name, and you have 3 minutes.
Just made it.
Just barely. I just about to close it.
Really?
30 seconds would have changed the whole thing.
My name is Ray Benz. I live at 370 West Shangri-La here in Tocqueville. And I wanted to make a comment tonight briefly about our water situation in this town. We, 2 weeks ago, the FBI announced that the Chinese government had successfully broken into our utility systems for large cities, and smaller ones are probably affected, and may have an effect on our electric grid as well as our power. We have plenty of water. We have a water distribution problem. And
Well, let's, real quick, this is your opinion.
yes,
So I don't want the public to think we have a major problem. This is Ray's opinion.
this is my
Okay.
opinion, as well as others, that should we lose the electric grid, we would not be able to adequately supply water to the residents of this town. Now, we have a generator and a 250-gallon propane tank. If people hoard water, which we encourage them to do, by the way, we tell them the first thing you do is fill up your bathtubs, get as much water as you can. It is said that it takes 3 days before you start experiencing a die-off among the young and the old. And so I am concerned that we don't have, in my opinion, a way to deliver water in this town, in spite of the fact that we have. Now, I guess you could go down there with buckets and get water, but half of this town is elderly. And I can't see them without gasoline or cars going down there, getting water, transporting it to their house, and we have no way of delivering it. So I would ask the city council, and I would love to be able to meet with you and talk about possibilities to either increase our propane storage there, put a solar system. I don't really care. But some of you that I've contacted already know my feelings on this as well, and there are others, and we're becoming more and more aware of this. I just talked to somebody in Texas. They lost their water due to what was going on. They said they were desperate. They were getting water out of the ditches because and tried to boil it. And I mean, and this is in Houston. So I would like to say that I am concerned, and there are others that are concerned, and I'd appreciate it if that's something you could discuss. And I'd be more than willing to be available to sit down with you, and I'll do the legwork. I'll do what it takes to make this happen. I think what we need is leadership now, not administrators. We need leaders to say, okay, let's take this on. I'd also like to end with saying that I want to thank Afton for all the time and effort and the years that she's put into working here. We're going to really miss her. And I, for one, am grateful that she was here and served in our community. Thank you.
And I want to say one thing real quick. Just so you know, Ray, we have a 2 million gallon water tank that's going to come online very shortly, which is going to, what do we hold now? Total, 500,000 gallons?
No, we're about at 1.5.
We're 1.5.
So that one tank is bigger than all.
So we're going to go from 1.5 million to 3.5 million within a matter of months. So
We're adding an additional.
it's already built. We're waiting for water tests, pressure tests, leak tests. That's all we're waiting on.
But we still have to supply those tanks with water.
We do. But what I'm saying is we'll have an extra 2 million gallons on
That's
hand.
great. That's
So
great.
when you come out and say we have a water problem in Tokerville, we are actively working on adding much more volume to our supply,
Our storage.
our 2 million gallons. So we're going to more than double our water. So I don't want people in the public to start thinking Tokerville has a water problem, because Ray keeps coming every month and saying we have a water problem.
I think we have a water
So,
distribution problem.
That's your opinion, but all of our engineers are saying you are overabundant on water for the amount of people you have. We could last, there's not a city in the state that could last a month on the water they have if the grid goes down. So, and I'm saying we can't go beyond what we can go beyond. We're trying our best, but we don't have endless pockets, and we don't have a magic tap of water from the sky. So what I'm saying is I don't want panic in the city. So-
I'm not suggesting that.
I know,
What I'm
but-
suggesting is that I think there is a concern, and could we last a month?
Yeah.
And people
Water-
start hoarding water, I don't believe we can last a month.
Yeah, a month is a long time without the grid. If we don't have the grid for a month, water is not going to be our only
Look
problem.
at
So-
what Houston's going through right
I
now.
know, hurricane, the
Yeah.
power's out, everything. So,
Earthquake.
yeah. So I understand, but I just want to be very clear that Tocqueville City has very good water system, and we're above and beyond what other cities have.
I
So,
appreciate that.
all right, anybody else in the public? All right, we are going to close the public forum and move on to presentation. We have Doug here from the Washington County Water Conservancy District to talk about our excess water usage surcharge fees.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Good to be here with you again. I was designated by Carrie Rathje to be here tonight, so I'm prepared to present to you on this issue. Do I just ask you to advance slides? Okay. As you know, when I came here before and we talked about new development standards, I think everybody's well aware that our water resources are very close to their limits. And that's the reason that we implement these new standards. And that's the reason we have policies such as an excess use surcharge. Next slide. Thank you, Daisy. Typically, we were required by the state originally, effective in 2017, to provide about 9/10 of an acre foot for every equivalent residential connection. So every time a new home was built here, we had to have almost 9/10 of an acre foot of water to be able to supply that home. Now, moving forward, the state would not allow anything to be developed if our water resources were at their limit and we couldn't provide that 0.89. And thus we said, we think we can build things that are much more efficient and we can drive that down to 0.59. And that's one of the ways that the state is able to say that we're going to be able to provide a reliable water supply, not have a city, you've seen this in Arizona, you've probably seen it in the news, where they allowed things to be built and then we're not able to supply water to them for moving ahead in the future. And that's not any place anybody wants to live. So we're now working on the 0.59 acre feet strategy. So part of that strategy, next slide, is to implement the excess water use surcharge. And this is not a new charge. In fact, the policies related to this were adopted in 2019 and 2021. And if you were to open the Tokerville's website and look at your own water rates, you actually have a line in there that says, we charge district surcharges and they are whatever the district says they are, and they'll be added to your bill. So I just looked at your rates today and that line is in there, but the city itself has not passed a resolution to formally adopt these surcharges. The reason that these surcharges were implemented, number one, I'm told that the cities that are members of the district's system or subscribers to the regional water supply agreement all wanted this surcharge to be part of the strategy. And they wanted the district to impose the surcharge rather than the cities themselves. So the expectation is that this will take some of the heaviest water users, send them an additional pricing signal to get them to reduce their use. And for those new homes coming in that we imposed the standards on, we made those homes as efficient as we possibly could. The way that we expect to enforce their performance is with pretty stringent surcharges. So they're able to perform quite differently because they were built to those very high standards. And so we've kind of divided both the customer classes into two groups, customers that existed prior to 2021 and customers that connected to the system after 2023, sorry. And we'll see that in a future one. So some important points. I talked about how this assures the state of Utah that we have an adequate future supply, and this was part of that strategy. The funds that are collected through this program are directed primarily toward conservation programs, including a new program we created that allows a city to apply for money from the district to make conservation improvements on their own city infrastructure. So that could help with AMI, it might help with leak detection, it could help with putting new controls on your parks to make them more efficient. Anything that's going to save the city water, which obviously is in the public's interest. And then one other thing people always ask about is if somebody gets a crazy water bill, which everybody does at some point, right? Something leaks, a toilet breaks, a pipe breaks, you wind up with a giant bill, the surcharges would be waived on those kinds of circumstances. So if the city has a policy that says we're not going to penalize you aggressively because you had a one-off event, you obviously wouldn't charge surcharges on that. Those would be refundable to the customer as well. And the district refunds those to the agency, who in turn refunds them to the customer. Next slide. So we have, at the will of the agencies, we have two customer groups that are treated differently in these surcharges. And the customers that were connected to the systems prior to January 1, 2023, only pay a $1 surcharge, and they only pay that surcharge on water use above 36,000 gallons per month. So we'll see a graph in a minute for that. The municipalities also inquired about, well, we're going to have to do a lot of work. We're going to have to structure. People are going to call us and want to ask questions. There's going to be some work involved on this. So the policy allows the municipality to keep 5% of the collected revenues to cover overhead costs for managing that. The other group, customers connected after January 1, 2023, these are those new, more efficient dwellings. They are assessed a surcharge of $10 per 1,000 gallons in excess of their seasonal monthly threshold, and we'll see a graph of what that looks like. And the municipalities are allowed to retain 10% administrative costs for their overhead. Next slide. So now we're looking at the existing customers or the old customers or those customers that were already on the system when these policies were adopted. And you can see that red line. What that is a 36,000 gallon threshold above which this customer would be required to pay the excess use surcharge. This is a profile of a typical kind of customer that we're trying to get the attention of. And as you can see, in the month of July, that customer used 60,000 gallons of water in a single month. Tokerville has pretty aggressive rate structure. I was not aware of that till I looked at it today. But for example, if you look at that July month, that 60,000 gallon water bill in Tokerville is a $420 water bill. We would be assessing an additional $24 onto it for the 24,000 gallons that were in excess of the 36,000 gallon threshold. In essence, I guess my point here is it's not an enormous surcharge for people that are using a tremendous amount of water. So you can see they would be charged an additional $16 in June, $24 in July, $20 in August, and $17 in September. So the policy is not that aggressive on customers that were already connected to the system when it was adopted. Are there any questions?
Is there, like if you just take an average, you take that chart and take an average over the year instead of concentrating on the months? Because if the user's allowed 36,000 gallons in January and he only uses 10,
that would be a completely different policy, and it would probably actually negate the effect. So
I'm just saying, was there conversations when this was created to take an average water use instead of a monthly water use?
Yeah.
Well, what they're trying to do is cut
I know what they're
back.
trying
Yeah.
to do. I know that they're trying to cut the peak,
trying to reduce the
peak things.
demand, right?
That's but it's on the other side of that coin, it's almost unfair if someone conserves so much in the winter and gets charged in the extra that they didn't use. Because if they're allotted 36,000 gallons every month and they don't use it every month, it's kind of it's just a point that
would be a discussion to have with the board or with the AAC, which I believe Mayor Sipp sits on the AAC. So they look at policy issues. But again, it would completely negate the desired impact of the policy. We're actually trying to send a signal to these folks to get them to reduce their water demand. Next slide. And then you have to ask, well, what happens if I've got a really huge facility? I've got a 3-inch meter or something. The thresholds are quite different for the larger meters, and these are the thresholds adopted. These thresholds exist for both the existing and new customer groups. The thresholds are the same. So if you had, for example, the school district, obviously was very concerned about this policy. School has a very large meter. It's going to demand a lot of water, but they've been allocated what's considered to be a reasonable amount of water for the scale of that facility based on their meter size. Next slide. This is what it looks like for new customers. They're actually seasonal tiers. So in the winter months, the customers hit the threshold at 8,000 gallons of wintertime use. In the spring, it's 15,000 gallons. In what we call the summer months, which are basically May through September, it's 20,000 gallons. Then it goes back to 15 and back to 8 again. And so a very different structure than what was imposed upon the existing customers. And again, we think we built these houses to be able to accommodate this. And this was in fact modeled around what we were expecting these new homes would look like. So.
Does this tier structure here for the new customers, is that for customers that don't have secondary water? Or is that for both?
We'll talk about secondary water in just a moment.
Okay, so this doesn't apply to.
This is culinary.
This would be their total demands between their potable and their secondary water. And I have a slide that explains that in a moment.
Okay, I'll wait.
Oh.
I'll
Why does seasonal people have a lot better rate on their water here?
Actually,
They pay more.
Oh, no, when I said seasonal, I mean, what you see, remember we had just a single red line and it was 36,000 gallons, whether it was July or January. In this case, we're actually setting thresholds based on the seasons of the year. We're allowing people more water in the summer than in the winter to try and encourage them to manage their water around the weather demands.
Well, 36 gallons is
36,000.
36,000.
you're trying to tell me some people in Tocqueville use 36,000?
Oh, we,
Even with the new standards out now and all your hoorah stuff and
Well, they-
implementing the desert environment,
Yeah.
there's no way they can use 36,000.
No, and that's why they've been allocated 20,000.
so this is a different one. This is like new homes out there. So let's call it wherever over there. This will be their new, the way they're, so in the blue, January, February, they're 8,000.
And-
Then they go to 15,000 and then they go up to 20,000 a month. That's what they're allowed. That's their allotment. If they go beyond that, that's where they get the surcharge.
So if they use 20,000, how much they being charged at our rates?
No, they're charged, well, we have our rates and then they have $10 per 1,000 gallons over that.
Yeah, if you use 21,000,
It's $10.
you would pay another $8 to Tokerville
Right.
for that extra 1,000 gallons over, and you'd pay $10 to the district. So now you're using $18 per 1,000 gallon water. It's very strong rate signal. The point being of all of this is that the new development is being held to a very high standard of performance. But we feel like we built very high performing homes to be able to accomplish that. So we don't expect that they're
That
going to
makes
run into
sense.
this
The new
other
homes
ones.
are held to a different standard than the old homes.
Yeah, but that chart right there is way generous chart. There's not a home out there that's even gonna utilize 8,000 gallons because they have no landscape.
Yeah.
They can't flush their toilet that much, so.
Yeah, and this is only intended to hit the upper tiers of water users. Yeah, and part of the idea was, and as elected officials, I'm sure you buy into this, that you don't want to hit the entire population. Those people that are good performers, that are doing what you need them to do, you don't want to impose additional rate increases on them. The idea is to only go out and hit with these fees people that are using extraordinary amounts of water. And believe me, they do exist. I could show you, now Tokerville is a very small community, but I know in the bigger cities, I could look at a single street where you would think every home looked very similar to the other, where one of those homes is using 3 times as much water as its neighbors. And,
Where does it go?
yeah, so I wonder that myself. So, but it's often it's lack of attention to some very simple things. So people that are still, for example, secondary homeowners who had the water set in July, and then nobody comes back and sets it again, right? So they'll run into that. They'll get a rate signal, and then they'll have an incentive to fix or do something about it and avoid it in the future. So, next slide. So customers that only have potable service, the way it was calculated to get to the 0.59 acre feet per year is the assumption that 0.25 acre feet would be their potable supply, and that 0.34 acre feet would be their outdoor water use. And this again was modeled from real data. You may or may not know Aaron Anderson with Bowen Collins. He modeled all the data from actual customers to come up with this, not just in Tokerville, but the entire region. Customers that have a potable and secondary connection, our expectation is that they would have a 1/4 acre foot for indoor use from their potable supply, and the remaining outdoor use would come from their secondary supply. So that is the assumptions that were used in this next slide. So you can see that during the winter months, new customers that have potable only are being afforded 8,000 gallons without incurring a surcharge. Potable with secondary is also at 8,000. But those that have potable water, as the seasons change, they're being afforded more and more water to be able to meet the needs of their landscape. But the potable supply for those that have secondary water will always be held at 8,000 gallons. They'll be surcharged on anything more than 8,000 gallons on their potable meter only, with the expectation that their outdoor water comes from their secondary meter. Next slide. In summary, this only affects a small percentage of the highest water users, and the intent is to incentivize conservation, have them take some action. The money from this program will help fund conservation programs. The 2 different strategies minimizes the impacts to pre-2023 customers whose properties do not have the efficiency measures that post-2023 customers have in place. This is part of the RWSA, and Tokerville is a subscriber to the RWSA, and there's an obligation to implement it. And again, this is not a new policy, but it's kind of lingered on the back burner, I think, and Tokerville will be the last of the agencies, of the 8 agencies now on board to implement it.
We're always the last.
We really are.
Now that we all know each other, I'd be happy to come here first on the next thing, whatever it is. So, yeah.
Well, we're just the smallest and, they know we'll do it when they get around to us, so.
Well, there also wasn't a lot of urgency because of the use of secondary water. Our expectation was there's probably not a lot of foregone
Yeah, it's not going to
fees.
change
I don't
much.
expect that this is going to have as much impact in Tokerville on your average customer as it might in St. George. So,
Thanks, Doug. Yes.
yes.
As reuse facilities start to come online, what would you anticipate to see adjustments with rates and how that would impact users?
You know, I can't speculate on that because I'm not going to be the rate setter by any means. But I think some of the things that I do believe are going to happen is that reuse water is not going to be cheap water. So secondary water has always been less expensive because we just took it out of the river and delivered it. And if it had mud in it, that's what you got. Whereas reuse water is going to come from St. George, be cleaned to a pretty high standard, be pumped back. So it's actually going to have a lot of embedded infrastructure and energy in it. So it'll be interesting to see. The water district is not for profit, just as the city of Tokerville is not for profit. But you may have to make rate changes to cover your costs on this new system. Keeping in mind, though, conservation and water reuse are really our only new sources of supply.
So know this too, Doug, that basically in Tokerville, your reuse water will come from Ash Creek Sewer District. It won't come from St. George.
Right, sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's not going to pump as far as St. George clear up to here.
But the entire system will, that $1 billion worth of projects that you may have seen presented in the water supply plan, it's mostly reuse. There's $1 billion and the bulk of it is tied into the reuse strategy. So those costs will be recovered.
And I think we've got $34 million the sewer district's paying right now for the new sewer plant. And that just cleans the water enough that we can reuse it. The nice thing about the new sewer plant in Laverkin is when the water comes out, it's clean enough to go right back into the river as for standard federal government standards. So at that point, we're going to pump it from there back up to our new reservoir. So that's the nice thing, except that we got to put a system in to pump it back up to the reservoir, which is going to cost more than just taking the water out of the spring. So it will cost.
So the irrigation water is going to be surcharged.
No, the irrigation water is completely separate than what this is. This is completely for.
Yeah.
So when he's saying non-portable.
Yeah, that is for new construction over the hill. That's them. That's not our existing ag land and ag.
It will have no impact on agricultural water.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, this surcharge is our drinking water for Tokerville citizens now, and then all new construction, if they have secondary water, it'll be on both systems. They won't be able to use more than the 5.59 acre feet for the whole year. So they'll have 8,000 gallons per month if they have secondary water. And if they go above the 8,000 gallons per month on their regular house water meter, they'll pay the excess. And then if they go above, we haven't talked about it, if they go above that on.
You're using the term secondary water.
Right.
Is that secondary water coming from TSWS?
Tokerville secondary water will not, as far as I know, it's not going over the hill.
TSWS is an ag water, right?
It's ag water, and it's
TSWS boundaries are well within what we see right now.
The water district provides.
They'll provide potable drinking water
and non-potable.
Well, we will provide all the drinking water that we can provide.
But
Tokerville
they
City.
provide it for other cities, though. Is that
They
what you're
do.
saying?
They do.
So that's
Yeah.
why they've got the two.
Well, and St. George supplies their own water a lot also, but everybody's on the same level. They want everybody in the district and the water agreement, the regional water service agreement, they want everybody to charge the same. Whether if it's Tokerville water, Washington City water, St. George water, we're all in the same. So if you go above a certain point, you get a surcharge, regardless where you're at in the county.
But the city will actually determine the charges. But for what we charge a city resident here.
Yes,
We
our
decide
water
what
rates stay the same.
They,
Yes.
Oh, what
they're
they,
decided here.
yeah, our water rates are decided here for us, for all the water that we can supply.
But on my bill, then there'll be another line here for the water district surcharge if we exceed.
That's,
Yes, if you
That's
exceed
correct.
that, yep,
yes, that's the blame the water district line.
right,
But these people
Yeah.
charge you this much. so.
right.
Yeah, right now it's $1.75.
So along Gary's line of questioning, so this is strictly for the excess water use surcharge fees.
Right, that's all it's for.
But then on August 1st here, we're having the water district hearing to raise the water rates. Is that correct?
The water rates, the wholesale water rate is going up, I believe, 13 cents per 1,000 gallons. And that's largely just to cover operating costs, increases in operating costs.
But there's going to be a hearing discussing that on August 1st, correct?
I'm not familiar with that, but I do know that we had
That's
a,
ag water increase.
That's ag water
That's talking
only.
about
That's-
secondary water. That's not
That's the
our-
secondary
yeah,
water, okay.
Yeah. That's a different.
Okay.
$37.50 a month more.
Okay, so that's going to be this first, the hearing on August 1st is going to be for the secondary water.
Yeah.
And that's the water district supplies that
Correct.
water, yes.
Correct, okay.
And you have two board members that are on that board.
Yes, okay,
and I will not be representing the district.
Yeah, yeah.
okay. No, I just wanted to get that.
Morgan and Zach and.
Yeah, I just wanted to get that
Dave
clarified
Jessup.
what the hearing was
Yeah.
for and how that interacted. Okay.
So currently you don't read the city meters.
And they won't.
No. In fact,
Okay.
this is wholly reported by the city. So there's a form that on a monthly basis, and that's why that you get this 5 or 10% administrative overhead. There's a form in which you report how many of these surcharges were collected, from how many meters and so forth, and then you remit that to the district. Then if for some reason a customer comes back, 2 weeks later at the end of the billing period and says, we had a pipe break and I don't normally use 50,000 gallons of water, and you go, oh, well, yeah, we understand. You would tell the district would remit any surcharges collected from that customer
So who
back to
gets
the city. It would give it to
Who
the
gets the
customer.
admin fee, the water district or the city?
The city gets the admin fee.
So this,
Yeah.
this would work very similar to what we have in place with the Ash Creek Sewer District right now.
And the
We-
solid
we-
waste
Yeah,
district.
we collect, and solid waste, we collect that. There's an administration fee of a certain percentage. They're saying 5%. That would be the exact same thing that what we would do is like we've been doing with the sewer district. We collect the money and then send that to them. And our software works really well with that. Talking with the billing clerk or the billing Hannah and the girls and Ruth, basically that will pretty much just be seamless. Works very well. So, and we were talking a little bit about the date of implementation of putting whatever. Yeah, when we would.
One day we're gonna turn it on and make it work.
And we talked I talked with Ruth and those guys, and they said probably October 1st, correct? September 1st. I am sorry. So it'd be September. So we wouldn't be doing it until September 1st anyway.
Will a 5% cover what it takes to do it?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
it's
Actually,
once we have that.
yeah, but we don't do anything. The computer program does everything.
Well,
It's not like.
Wait, maybe we need to renegotiate.
Yeah.
So
You want the check
So
sent
do you
directly to
have-
you.
does the water district should decide the date? Have you decided the date? This is
No, actually, the effective date, like I said, of one of these policies was 2019, the other one was 2021. And so we're far behind. And in fact, some of the cities have been collecting this for several years now.
but not
Our-
sending it to you.
No, they do send it to the
We
district.
just haven't been doing it.
There's probably going to be a request to our board at some point to try and come up with a way to create equity among all the entities because of the disparate dates that they began implementing it. And so that'll probably come up at the district sometime in the future. I don't think you're going to see anything where anybody's trying to claw back money from, that you didn't implement this, but you should have. And therefore, we're going to dig through all the records and try to figure out how much should have been owed. I think they're more likely it's going to be where those cities who have been paying the longest, that we look at some way to make them whole again since we weren't able to get everybody on board. But that may come up in the future. What's really good about what Darren said about implementing this in the fall is this could be a surprise. If you implemented it immediately, we're in July. we are having one of the most severe heat waves that anybody's seen in a pretty good long time. And you don't want to drop a fee like this on customers during their peak demand period, really. So one of the other tools you have at your disposal through a grant project that we have at the Water District is a program called Yapify. Maybe
Have you
heard of Yapify?
Yeah, we're already using it.
We are
Okay.
using
Yeah.
So Yapify could be used as a tool to conduct outreach, and you even have the ability with Yapify to only reach out to the customers that you think are going to be hit by the surcharge. There's no sense in rankling up a bunch of people that may never be touched by it, right? So you'd be able to tell people, hey, we're implementing this surcharge. It looks like your use profile may be one that incurs this. We're giving you a heads up. It's going into effect on a certain date. So in my opinion, it makes sense to roll it out over a few months and give people some notice and let them know what's coming. It's because we want them to be able to react to it rather than react to the notice rather than to the bill, right?
Is there a waiver for somebody who wanted to fill a swimming pool?
I don't believe there is, but one of the things about swimming pools is that typically people start coming up with better strategies to do it. So typically the idea of draining a swimming pool completely dry and then refilling it is honestly not recommended even by the pool industry. So typically you do partial refills where you'll take out, like I have a fish aquarium at home, and I never like take all the fish out and drain the whole aquarium. I'm just doing water exchanges. I'll take out a third of the water and replace it. And that way I'm managing water quality. If people want to do things like that, obviously they want to do it during the months where they're going to have the most
Excess. water.
Yes, the most headroom, I guess, to be able to do those activities. But people usually figure that out. And
Okay, how about if it's a new construction?
the new there is not a provision to allow somebody to just drop 20,000 gallons into a swimming, which is typical swimming pool is 15 to 20,000. So no, there is not a provision for that. But in my career, I've fielded lots of calls from people who want to fill a pool. And it's kind of nice to be able to tell them, if you did that, this is what your bill would look like.
Yeah.
And then you can give them some strategies or communicate with them through newsletters. You probably have information on which households have swimming pools. And again, you could use Yapify to say, attention pool owners, here's what we recommend. Here's how you can manage the water in your pool and so forth. So everything's challenging around
It is.
water.
It is. Water is a bugger. Thanks, Doug. Any more questions?
Thank you.
All right. We might have some more when we get, I don't know, but we might be good. We're going to move on now to our business items. All right. Business item F1, discuss the possible action to appoint Darren Lefevre as interim city manager effective July 31st, 2024. Any questions?
No, I'm just kidding.
No, you just got to make a motion.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to appoint Darren Lefevre as interim city manager effective July 31st, 2024.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, moving on. Item F2, discuss the possible action on resolution 2024. Washington County Water Conservancy District Board of Trustees authorizing an increase in the excess water usage surcharge for existing connections. So that was what Doug just went over. It was how much per thousand?
Existing is $1 per
$1 per thousand, over 36,000 gallons, yes. So. Any questions?
Okay, the fixed rate, did that change? Did I see that change? $1.75, did that go up or is it staying the same?
the resolution right there. It's $1.75 on section 1.
Right there. That's on Tocqueville City, or that's on $1?
For existing, this resolution is for existing.
Right.
This was a
Base surcharge was $1.75 and the tax.
Okay, so there's no change on that then?
Yeah.
Okay.
And on the resolution, we don't have to say, or does it say, existing customers prior to
This is-
January 1st, 2023?
come up to the top there. You'll see where
Did I
it
miss
was.
it?
Yeah.
Okay.
2019,
That's what I said, 2019.
correct.
So is there a speed bump anywhere for existing?
That's why I'm confused then.
January 2019,
So the top of the resolution says,
2019, we talked about 2021. I think we had.
oh, we
two-
talked about 2023 also.
So there's a different, on your agenda, there's the next item
Yeah, the next
is
item.
the other one for existing, or for new construction. This is just for the existing customers now.
Wayne,
and
what was your question, Wayne?
I'm looking for a speed bump anywhere here. I'm weary.
Effective immediately, the one you have there shows.
Read it over and
Also,
over
if I
and over,
refreshed
confused with the dang thing.
So you're worried about over 36,000, just
No, I'm
hidden charges or?
No, I don't think there's anything hidden. It just seems like it's out of balance.
As long as that's what's being approved.
Upcoming
that's-
economy and the amount of money that the Conservancy District consumes to run their business, which is supposed to be nonprofit. What is left? I mean, how much is consumed in just administration and all this fee gathering and everything? And can we project out 10 years? Are you going to have the water?
They've projected out,
Yeah.
they've got a 20-year plan.
They have a 20-year plan. They update it every year.
Yeah, it's
Every
been-
year it's an updated thing too. So it's pretty impressive when you see
It's a
their.
huge plan. It-
You
Yeah,
see
At
their
some
10-year.
point, is it going to get in such an excess expense that we can't afford to flush the toilet?
Go outside.
Or for the sacrifice of the many masses moving here and the population explosion and other
Well,
areas of
that's
the
the part
country
on
had to
that.
kind of
That's
cramp
that
down a little bit?
secondary.
That's-
That secondary, the new people that are coming, they're getting reduced even more. So they get, so like this is existing users. So this is actually, if you look at Tokerville's rates, we charge more than this, but it's
Much
lower. Like at 10,000 gallons, we start charging or
Yeah,
whatever
you're
it
the
is. But
eighth highest water
Yeah.
charge
So-
in the state.
Yeah.
basically, the citizen doesn't even notice anything different in their bill from Tokerville until they get 26,000 more gallons in their pocket. Then they start paying the Conservatory District for their water supply.
on top of, yeah, so
Tokerville's
Plus
problem.
Tokerville has a,
Existing, this only includes the new people?
This is just, well,
this is
just
this
existing.
one today, right now, this one is just the existing for the people that already live here since 2019.
This will
and
only
before.
affect like you. So-
Yeah.
Well, if we exceed the 36,000,
You pay $1 per gallon, per 1,000 gallons.
well, we should. I mean, there's no doubt about that.
Well, you're paying Tokerville City a hell of a lot more than that. You're only
That's all-
paying,
that's
the
all
water
this is
district
for.
at 1,000. It's like $400 water bill if you hit $36,000 or 36,000 gallons.
If I'm paying $36,000 on my water
36
meter, I'm paying
36
for it from
gallons.
Tokerville, not.
Yeah, you're paying Tokerville like $400. Then if you hit 37,000 gallons, then you pay them $1. So,
Yeah, I can't see the 36,000 gallons. That's a crazy amount of water.
well, it is if you don't have secondary water, it is. Darren uses almost that much.
I don't
bring
have
it up,
secondary. I don't
Yeah.
have secondary right now. And basically during the summer, during the winter, I'm using 4,000 gallons, between 2 and 4,000. During the winter, or during the summer, I actually use just under 20,000 because I water my grass and my trees and things like that. So I'm still not at 36,000.
but You go from 4 to 20,000.
Off the subject just a little bit, is there a mechanism in our irrigation water through those meters that the user can see what his use is rather than have to go out there and try to?
On irrigation, there is.
So you can get with, you can get, yeah, if you get with Mindy, I believe it is, the water district, she'll get you the link, just the app, just like we have it here. It's almost this, I think you can use the exact same app, and there's multiple people in our city that do this now. I know a bunch of people on Westfield Road that they can pull up their culinary use and they can pull up their irrigation use.
I can do
on
the
that
culinary, and I literally love that, and I think it's more, it lets people be more aware, but it would be nice if we could be more aware of the irrigation use also.
Yeah,
It's
they're,
the
they
same-
have the
same
same
exact program.
It's there.
Same meter, same everything.
I'd like to get onto that app somehow.
Okay, so back to item 2.
Can I jump in again?
Can, absolutely.
Okay, so, and maybe Matt can help me out on this one. So I understand this is for existing. Can we add that in there somewhere with the date? Because if you look at the next one, what the next resolution we're gonna go over says on it, it says surcharge for new connections, and it says made on or after January 1st, 2023. So can we add,
Go back to the original
so
first.
can we go back to the first one where, can we add for existing surcharge for excess water use? And then can we add connections made prior to, or make it December 31st, 2022?
That might not need to be done because this was implemented in 2019 for the district. So we're just implementing what they've already implemented.
If you scroll down to the bottom of this document, it has the actual motions that the Water District Board made back in 2019. And you can see that. And so basically we should have implemented it. Maybe it's not the bottom of this document. I'm sorry, Daisy.
Okay.
One of them it is.
I have.
Okay, so regardless, so then regardless, what you're saying, Darren, is that even though it was implemented in 2019, it applies to existing customers December 31st, 2022? Because that's what this says.
Yeah, if I can clarify.
Okay, yeah,
Absolutely.
So keeping in mind, there were several years between those two water district actions, right? So in 2019, it was decided that they would implement a single 36,000 gallon threshold on everybody. Everybody in the entire county that was getting water had the same surcharge. Then it was decided later that people who connected to the system after January 1 should have a different surcharge. So in a way, everybody was on the same playing field, and it was decided that people who implemented after or connected after January 1 would be held to a higher standard. Therefore, everybody prior to January 1, 2023 was still in that pool of people subject only to the earlier policy. And that's how it played out. And that's why you have two different resolutions and these two different groups.
Okay. So then, just so I'm reading it correctly, then anybody before January 1st, 2023, prior to that is an existing customer,
It is.
correct?
Yep.
Okay, all right. That's
Yep.
fine.
Find it. And to Darren's point about when to implement this, normally the town council or the city council's resolutions or ordinances are effective upon passing. This one recognizes, hey, let's give a period of whether it's get the word out or wait till the peak demand is over. This would become effective in terms of the surcharge rates September 1, 2024. And the district sounds like it's good with that, even though the policy says it's, we're not looking to make it retroactive, but the policy's been in place. We're just looking to say from September 1 forward, this is what everybody needs to be mindful of. I think that's an appropriate change to the norm where it's effective upon passing. And the other comment I have applies to this one as well as the next one. And Doug mentioned it, that the city has or can have its own policy in terms of high water event. I would just say, let's go back, look at the policy, what that language is, and have something that is very, well, I wouldn't say very clear, but clear enough that says if there's a sudden occurrence, that's kind of the insurance world. If there's a sudden occurrence, meaning a pipe break or some kind of water system fails, maybe it's your water line coming into your fridge. If that event happens, then we would recognize as a city, that's a one-off event. We're not going to charge you that full. But if it's a constant ongoing, say you have a leaky water pipe in your irrigation lines or your sprinkler lines, and you're not addressing it, then the whole idea is trying to deter mismanagement and promote water management.
I think the city already has that.
Yeah, we do.
We do.
Yeah, they're all.
One
Good.
time, there's nobody that can actually claim that
If they-
they
yeah.
didn't know because.
But we still have a 1 month, oh crap, what just happened? And I think we split it. It ended up, yeah, we do a 50% reduction.
Yeah, because I
if
mean,
they have.
it tells the truth, that the
It
water
does.
tells the truth.
Absolutely. If
But
people are logged on and they use it.
He's hitting on a point that we need to, and it might cause a headache for the city, but somewhat inform folks that this is coming in
Right.
October. So it's not a big.
September 1.
And that-
But then if you alarm them right now, then maybe they want to use all the water they possibly can, but that's, It's such a, I would.
They would,
about
yeah.
redo something, but then you could have 1 million calls coming in and.
Well, we, like Doug was saying, we can use Yopify for those ones we know are. We could also put it on our website. We can do different things like that to let them know.
We'll do some messaging so people will know it's
Yeah.
not just we're not going to blindside them.
Like,
So,
you're
That's-
going to run up a $400 and some odd water bill before this thing even touches you.
yeah,
Yeah, if you go to 36,000, Tocqueville City's gonna nail you.
long before the district.
Yeah.
goes.
You're
Long,
going to
long.
climb up to the $8 range.
$1 per gallon per thousand real
Yeah.
quick.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm not worried about the dollar after the 36. That's the last of your worries. But yeah,
So there was a good question with respect to the dates here. Matt cleared that up.
Yep.
We're not going to retro charge our customers
No.
back to that.
we're not.
So now, it doesn't say that anywhere, so we're just doing that in good faith. There's nothing in writing saying that.
The reality
No one's going to
is,
complain anyway.
the reality is the water district doesn't know how many people have gone over because it hasn't been being recorded on their side. So there's no way to go back. and
There's no way to retro.
Yeah,
Doesn't
we'd have to, it'd take
Yeah,
more,
but what
it would take more effort to go find the paper.
the other
to
thing
get the
is-
$10.
Tocqueville City's part of the water pooling agreement, and we signed that agreement saying we will follow their recommendations and create resolutions just like this.
Yeah.
So if they wanted to come back and charge us and back charge us for that, they actually can do that. So we're just trying to conform with the rest of the cities is all we're doing with all of these.
Yep, that's exactly it. Okay, item 2.
But we need to,
Yes, we need a motion and a second. So, and I can't make the motion, so I'm just waiting.
I made them all, but I'll make another one. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve business item number 2, resolution 2024.XX for the Washington County Water Conservatory District Board of Trustees authorizing an increase in the excess water usage surcharge for existing connections.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on this item? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Item F3, discuss and possible action on Resolution 2024, Washington County Water Conservancy District Board of Trustees authorizing an increase in the excess water usage surcharge for new connections made on or after January 1, 2023. So this is the new connections. Everything's exactly the same, except it's $10 per 1,000 gallons. If you have potable water, if you have secondary water, the rates, we saw that chart. So any questions on this one?
Make a motion, Mayor, that we approve business item number 3, resolution 2024, Washington County Water District authorizing increase in excess water use surcharges for new connections made on or after January 1st, 2023.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any more discussion on this item?
so this has been adopted by
Everybody but
the other
us.
municipalities as well. Okay.
We're the last ones.
All right.
All right. Any more discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. All right, we're going to move on to item F4, discuss the possible action on resolution 2024, our uniform fee schedule implementing the Washington County Water Conservancy District SS water usage surcharge increase. So this is just changing our uniform fee schedule to put it on there. So if people look at our fee schedule, they can see that there is a $1 per 1,000 on old customers and
Actually, a little bit different than
No,
that.
it's
It's not on there.
oh, that's not rate determined. Perfect. That way, if it changes, then we don't have to change the rate fee.
Right.
So perfect. Okay. Super easy uniform fee schedule. We've done this 50 times the last 2 years. So
Mhm.
Mayor, I'd make a motion that we approve business item number 4, the uniform fee schedule implementing the water district excess water usage surcharge increases.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on this item?
Just a little thing.
Yep.
Can't we have the rate in there or is that way too complicated?
Well, it's back to changing this every time something changes. If we have something like this, then we don't have to change this portion of the fee. We can just say it's on there and That way it just helps our housekeeping a little easier. So,
Does this limit the city's ability to change the rate to the consumers here?
no, this
In the
has
event that
nothing,
The water district.
If you go up above, you'll see our rates there,
our
your
water
utility rates, culinaries.
Yeah, this has nothing to do with our water rates. This is just excess water fee
Okay,
assessed by the Washington County Water Service District. So,
question answered. Thank you.
okay. I need a motion on.
No, you got it.
You got a motion in a second?
Oh, yeah, that was further discussion, sorry. You got the Daisy, you made the motion in a second? Perfect. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we're on to F5, discuss the possible action on ordinance 2024, amending and restating Tocqueville City Code 5-1-4, care of keeping of animals and livestock to establish standards for the keeping of chickens.
Hey,
So,
Mayor, this is one of those ones. So item actually 4 and 5 and 6 are
yep,
in conjunction, because when you change something in one ordinance, it relates to another ordinance. So the first one, though, in the December meeting on December 13th, 2023, the Planning Commission, they gave direction to the staff to draft an ordinance for the use of chickens in residential zones. Tocqueville City Code currently requires conditional use livestock permits based on a point system for keeping all the livestock. This ordinance draft revolves around the chickens from the conditional use requirement. It creates standards for the permitted use of chickens within the residential zones, and this ordinance coincides with the ordinance draft amending the allowed uses of the single-family residential district. This section of the Tocqueville City Code is found under Title 5, but it deals with the land uses directly affected by Title 10. So with that being said, in our actual ordinances, you can see that right there at the very top, we went through this with the Planning Commission, and
Thanks, Doug.
I believe you can, Daisy kept the minutes are in your packets from the previous meeting of the Planning Commission. So you can see the changes that were made there. We just put these in the actual livestock, or took them out of livestock and put them into the residential. So you'll see that for the
square footage.
for the care and keeping. So yeah, if you go down to the lower there, Daisy, so really basically we took out chickens out of the livestock ordinance, and then also item 9 there, we put back up into the top.
Okay.
I don't know if you guys have any questions. Hopefully you've been able to look at this. Actually, I do want to mention that the Planning Commission under item D, letter B, item D, they changed the distance from 20 feet from the neighbor to 10 feet. Correct.
Basically, and we're taking chickens off to have a permit. If you don't need a permit to get chickens. And we're letting them have so many chickens for how many acres of how much land they have.
Correct. And we also,
Yeah.
so we also put in there no more than 20 chickens. We talk about roosters. We talk about putting them in the backyard only, those types of things. So that's all in there.
So the biggest complaint was the amount of money they had to pay for
The
chickens.
$400.
Yeah, so
The chicken feed.
the chicken fee.
Yeah.
So there is
Yeah.
no,
Well,
so
it's,
with this new ordinance, there's no fee.
that's correct. It'll put it in the residential as a permitted use.
And if they wanted to go over the allotted amount, then they would need to come in and get a conditional use permit?
They would not be permitted. Correct, because it talks about a 12,000 square foot or larger lot. So if you got a 2,000 square foot lot and you're trying to put more than 20 chickens in the backyard,
That's not permitted.
Yeah.
if you got a 5-yard or a 5-foot yard backyard or something,
If you got a 3-acre lot, how many chickens can you have?
you're in agricultural, so this does not apply to you. This is only for residential.
Somebody disagrees with what the staff said, they would appeal it to the planning commission.
Yeah.
The planning commission can issue a conditional use permit.
They can.
If
If they meet,
want to.
yeah.
But they would have to actually apply for it too, so probably a way that if someone really did that, they could probably.
We pulled it out of the conditional uses. You can't do it anymore. We just basically put it as a permitted use, and then we said, 20 chickens. If you guys want to put more, if you guys tonight want to put more than 20 chickens and let people have
Chickens on a small lot is a lot of chickens.
Here's the other thing, though, is we talk about that they need to be restricted to the rear. That talks about a coop or a pen, like the size of the cage. You can't just have your chickens running and going jumping on the fence and into your neighbor's yards and things like that, because then it becomes a code violation, and then the code enforcement officer gets to pay you a visit.
Thanks, Darren.
All right. Any discussion?
Can I ask why they reduced it to 10 foot instead of 20?
Just so you could get it, like if you have a smaller backyard, you could get to your chicken coop closer to the fence.
They wanted to go 5. There was some discussion at 5 feet away from the property.
Well, they even said 0 right on the property.
Yeah, because a lot of people use, like if they have a block wall, they'll attach to the block wall and put a big cover over. So 0 would be to the property line, right? And so.
I think I'd still wake up if.
There's no roosters allowed. It says right there, no roosters allowed.
I understand that. It's chickens that can still wake you up too.
Oh, chickens can't stink.
Okay, I was just curious why
I
they
just-
made that change.
Are my chickens waking up? We are in.
I can hear your chickens in the morning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All
I'm
right.
not complaining.
So this makes it easy for residents in Tocqueville to have chickens without a big to-do, so, which I think is awesome. All right, I need a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve business item F5.
Yep.
Keeping of chickens.
All right, I have a motion.
Second.
I have a second. Any more discussion on this item? All in favor? Any opposed? All right, thank you. We're gonna move on to item 6.
Waiting for like
Discuss.
favor cluck.
Cock-a-doodle-doo. All right, item 6, discuss the possible action ordinance 2024, amending and restating Tocqueville City Code 10-10 A R1, single-family residence district to create and allow use table and modify permit and conditional uses. So this is the same thing. We're just taking out a 5 and putting it into 10, like Darren said. This is exactly.
Also, as we were in there, we did a little other house cleaning. As you see on the proposed changes on your agenda item sheet, the removal of home occupations from the permitted uses. We took that out just because it's just a permit now. It doesn't go through the conditional use, the different things. And that also, we created that, and I'm not going to take any credit for this. Riker, actually, you're seeing the fruits of his hard labor. So he's the one that did a lot of these under my direction as well, or together. So.
Okay.
A lot of cleanup items. So these are
Yeah,
some
this
of the
is-
cleanup items in there is stuff from when I was on planning
Yeah,
commission. So
finally getting around to.
finally got it taken care of.
Okay.
The backlog is getting before you, and you're going to see a
We're gonna
bunch
see a
more come
bunch of
through.
it. We see a bunch of this.
Must be in the wrong.
Does anybody else have any more discussion? Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve business item 6, ordinance 2024.XX, amending and reinstating the Tocqueville City Code 10-10A R1, single-family residential districts to create an allowed use table and modify permitted and conditional uses.
Okay, I've got a motion and a second. Any further discussion on this item?
Wayne, you got discussion?
I was just trying to find, I've seen it somewhere before. so.
Go back to business.
If you have any questions, I can answer them.
And while we're waiting for Wayne real quick, just so everyone knows, Emily, I should have brought this up earlier. Emily is sitting here as our planning and zoning administrator. She has the new job. So she is now in the big office in the back. And so she's actually double dutying. She's doing a permitting job and a planning and zoning.
So you
So-
should cut and pay
We
for
got a
this.
lot of really
I got
tough
a
questions
question
coming
on
up.
That one, model homes. What's a model home?
A model home is if you had a subdivision, you put a home in to show people what your home looks like.
So like staged with furniture and
Model
all
homes,
that.
that's
yeah.
conditional.
Yeah.
Yep.
This is in a residential district.
Right. So if you had a 100-unit subdivision and you want to build them 3 model homes, you have to come in and get a conditional use.
Correct.
So.
Thank you.
All right, we have a motion and a second. No more discussion. All in favor?
All right.
Aye. Any opposed? Perfect. All right, 24th of July celebration coming up on Wednesday. So everybody come out. We got a great celebration. They've always have a good one here. I know the church puts on most, but the cities are providing the park and helping out where we can and what they need. So let's make sure we show up for the 24th of July celebration. That's all we have for our meeting this
I
evening.
have a calendar event.
Yes.
Daisy, are we having a meeting tomorrow on the
On the bypass road?
bypass road?
Darren?
It has not been canceled that I know of as of yet. I have not seen it
As
canceled.
of yet.
Let me
It's not when
look.
I-
It
not when I
usually,
pull up front.
usually they cancel it the day before at least 24 hours. And let me just look really quickly. I can find out. I can actually get with you after the meeting.
Just for information, they did a second blast on Monday. If anybody didn't know that, they've done 2 blasts on the south cut now.
The
So
rock's
they're-
gone.
Yeah, they took the big hammer and just busted it up. So it's actually been through the crusher now. Now it's a bunch of little rocks. So
Is there any activity on the north side?
not yet. We're still waiting on engineering.
So we are paying engineering right now. So there is activity going on.
Yeah, so the engineer is supposed to be getting measurements and quantities, or just the slope, and then we'll get a number from JP on what is good. But at this point, we're just waiting on engineers that I was promised 2 weeks ago that I'd have the information. And I have.
So getting seismic data on that every blast?
I'm sure they are. Yeah. Yep. I'm sure they've got their shockwave. The seismic to figure out what we're doing. And that first blast, I talked to Bob. That first blast they did kind of in the back. I think they separated everything out front.
Yeah.
Because they did it, and so they keep the shockwave from moving south along the houses. So I don't know if you noticed, they did that blast. That first blast didn't really do much.
On the back.
On
the back cut.
on the south side, yeah.
Pretty split.
Yeah, so anyways. All right, yeah, so we'll have more information on the cut. It's moving along slow, but it is moving finally, so
We want to stop moving.
we want it to be done. Yeah, we want the landslide to stop moving, that's right. All right, we do need to move into closed session. If somebody could make that motion.
Motion to go into closed session for discussion of character, professional competence, physical and mental health of an individual, strategy session to discuss collective bargaining, strategy session to discuss pending or reasonable imminent litigation, and strategy session to discuss purchase, exchange, lease of real property, including any form of water rights or shares.
Okay, I've got a motion.
Second.
I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we are adjourned, or this meeting is closed at this point, 7:07. We're gonna move into our closed session.